Hello, and welcome back to Mellohi, a Dream SMP podcast. This is episode 30, and today we'll be discussing the Dream SMP Season 3 finale. As always, we refer to the characters by name, and specify when we're talking about the writers, and we try to focus on analysis. Welcome back to Mellohi! Just something to announce about this episode. This is actually the last episode of Season 1 of the Mellohi podcast. And because of that, it's going to be an extra length episode, and we'll talk about everything in the Dream SMP Season 3 finale, at least as much as we can fit.
Yeah, there's
because a lot happened.
There's so much.
Happened.
So much. Just trying to write all of it out, I was like, oh man, I thought this was gonna be like, 2 pages with bullet points, and then I started recapping.
Yes, we wrote out like a whole Google document for us to use while we're doing this. It's just a recap of everything that happened, including Quackity's lore.
Yes, so it covers everything from Quackity's lore stream, his finale stream on Saturday, the 27th of November. From that to as recently as Ponk's latest stream, which I think happened like 2 days before we're recording this. So everything that's happened in like the last
It was
week
weird
or
because
so.
it happened in like midday for me.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch it, but I read through the recap, and we'll get to it when we get to it. But let's just say
I saw
that'll be
it pop
fun.
up in the stream notifications, and it was like FAM in the morning, and I'm dying, and I'm like, I shouldn't click this, and then I stay up late anyway, so whatever.
Yeah, whatever, it works out. But yeah, so for now we need to start with the first of the finales, which is
Quackity's lore
Quackity.
stream.
Yeah.
Cinematic lore streams. It's beautiful. Phenomenal.
Yes.
Amazing.
Like,
And it doesn't lose out on
Mini
the
movies.
stupid humor of normal lore streams either.
It doesn't. It still
Yeah.
maintains some of that. Yeah, so it's the finale of the Las Nevadas arc, I guess, as far as season 3 goes.
Oh my god, he named it finale, and it actually is.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting because it covers the span of time from probably like the day before or the day of Techno being imprisoned. I can't remember if it says like exactly when. I think it just says 3 months ago at the beginning of the stream.
Which
And
is about the same time
entirety
Techno
of the
was
stream
imprisoned for.
covers from that to Techno Blade's escape, and then a few weeks after that, and I think like the day before technically
Prison Break.
what would be the day before Techno Breaks stream out. So it covers that whole span of time that we didn't get to see what Quackity was doing or what like the Las Nevadas crew was doing, but we had like the prison
wait, I
podcast.
think the end of that was like after Techno had escaped.
I think
No.
so, yeah.
No,
No, it couldn't have been.
So at the very
No,
end,
it was
No,
after
no, it
Techno
has to
escaped.
be-
It was before Dream escaped, is what I
it was
said.
before.
Yeah.
So what happened was, but spoilers, obviously. Slime dies, and this happens the day of Techno escaping, and so 2 months later, he's stuck in this. I mean, he's holed up in his researching, looking into slime, and then 2 months later, slime finally responds to something. Slime disappears, and then prison break.
Yeah. So that's sort of
Yeah.
the timeline, is it? But there's a lot that happened.
Okay, so the first thing I want to say about this that's really interesting is Quackity gives Slime these lessons, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of them echo very similar to what Dream thinks and the lessons that Ranby got. So it's very interesting that these, like, we already know that Quackity and Dream are paralleling each other a lot, but it's interesting to see that Slime seems to be paralleling Ranbu.
Yeah. Some of them are definitely similar.
It's-
like
Quackity does this a lot, actually. He will see something his enemy does, and then he'll copy what they do, but in like
Yeah.
a slightly worse way.
Well, we could probably go through all the lessons because I have them written down. So he teaches him 7 formal lessons, and then he gives him like one piece of like last advice afterwards. but I think we can probably just go through the lessons really fast because they're not too complicated to talk about. But so the first one, which I think is my favorite because I just like the way it's worded, is humans are assholes and are going to gatekeep at every chance they get. And you know what? That's fair. And I think it's I think is a lesson that's like distinctly...
humans here is a word which means Wilbur sucks.
Yeah, I think this is a lesson distinctly that isn't something that I think gets reflected in other people. It's something that Quackity himself has learned from his experiences, whereas a lot of the other lessons I think are things that he's learned from like Wilbur or Dream and that kind of thing. But the humans are assholes and are going to gatekeep at every chance they get is distinctly a lesson that Quackity learned from his own experience in the Dream SMP and from being gate-kept from joining L'Manberg. And we even get clips of like Tommy telling him that, you know, Wilbur wouldn't approve of you, you're two, and then it drifts off. But which I like to take credit for him.
I just find it so funny though that this lesson is just this giant jab at freaking L'Manberg.
Yeah, basically. And you know what, that's kind of fair because like that was the start of the conflict.
I know. Okay, I've said this before. I'll say it again. I don't get how so many people can ignore that part of his character when it's basically what set off his entire character.
Yeah. Well, some people think it just didn't happen because no one could find the actual clip of Wilbur telling him that you're not European, so you can't be in.
There's
some people think it
misconception essentially that was just a misunderstanding on Tommy's part.
Yeah.
But Wilbur himself, maybe not at that exact moment, but at other times has been very clear that he wants British people and European people in L'Manberg, and he wants Americans out.
Well, any non-Europeans are
like it's not like Wilbur was going around saying, "Oh, I love Americans. Any Americans can join L'Manberg if they want." And then Tommy was like saying the complete opposite. What Tommy says is like supported by how Wilbur acted at other times.
If I remember correctly, Sapnap, during this beginning of L'Manberg, Sapnap had wanted to join L'Manberg.
Yeah, Sapnap was
but
denied.
But he was denied because he was American and not European. And this happened, if I remember correctly, it should have happened when he and Tubbo went to confront Wilbur and Tommy over them stealing potion supplies.
Yeah, because Tubbo's a I think it's after the drug van has done, and then they start L'Manberg.
No, I think it was them. I think they brought blaze rods
because it was once
to Tommy and Wilbur.
But
it
Tommy.
It was when Wilbur had come up with the idea for L'Manberg, but they hadn't really started building it up yet.
Yeah, so Wilbur comes up with the idea of making this country, and then he's like, "Hey, well, Tubbo can join," and then Sapnap's like, "Well, can I join?" And then Wilbur's like, "No, you can't join because you're not European."
Thanks, Wilbur. Yeah. Okay. All right, that makes sense. Yeah, I wasn't there during that time, so my memory of what happened exactly when is a little iffy. But yeah, so that's Quackity's first lesson, though, right? Is that people will gatekeep, and that's interesting because we can tie that back to L'Manberg. And actually, I'm looking through these lessons, and you can tie each of them back to sort of like either a specific person or a specific event.
Well, like obviously, politics are the way to power.
Yes.
Like obviously, it's something Quackity learned himself. He learned from Wilbur. He learned from Slash.
Yes. So that's the second lesson he teaches.
Create no attachments to anything because they will get destroyed.
Dream.
I know people say like that echoes Dream, but also Wilbur. And Wilbur destroying L'Manberg.
Yeah, he does actually use Wilbur as the example for it.
Dream and
he
Tommy,
talks about
probably.
how Wilbur went insane. Well, he mentions when he's teaching Slime the lesson, he talks about Wilbur specifically and talks about how Wilbur was attached to L'Manberg and it drove him insane, and then he destroyed it, and everyone who was attached to it as well got their thing that they loved and cared for destroyed as well. So there's those. And then the fourth lesson is hold your ground against authority, which I think is kind of, he uses Mexican L'Manberg as his example for that one to Slime, of him standing up against Dream, which, fuck him, but okay. Sure, buddy.
I don't think...
Sure.
Yeah, you're in the right there. No, you're not. Anyways, that's my personal opinion. Let's not talk about that. But yeah, so he uses Mexican L'Manberg as his example for that, of him standing up against authority, which was Dream, and then he uses it sort of, I think, I feel like part of that lesson also has to come from Schlatt and how when he was Schlatt's vice president, a lot of the things that happened was that he, in his mind, probably feels bad because he didn't stand up to Schlatt soon enough, because he was complicit in a lot of what Schlatt did with like murdering Tubbo at the festival, like having him executed or tearing down the White House. He probably thinks that, you know, I didn't stand up hard enough for that, and it was only after that that I think that probably, at least in my mind, I think would have some kind of effect in where he got that idea from, of his regrets for not standing up against Schlatt. But I don't know how much of that is just me theorizing and headcanoning, but it just makes sense to me anyways. Trust nobody, you're going to get betrayed. I feel like that is also something he learned from Schlatt. But in a sort of like outsider looking in kind of way, because Schlatt had everyone betray him.
Yeah.
And Wilbur then betrayed Poctopia. So I feel like that's a
He
lesson.
might have also been thinking about Pun's betraying Dream, even though we'll talk about that, like, what's been revealed about that later on.
Yeah, maybe he partially got that from that as well, but I don't know how much Quackity has interacted with puns or knows about puns. But I feel like the Schlatt one, and then Wilbur and Poctopia probably stands out to him significantly because of that. And, you know, part of it is also probably, in his eyes, how Rambo betrayed Tubbo and everyone by writing everything down in that book, which he then gave, and I'm putting that in quotation marks because he didn't, probably, maybe he gave it to Dream, we don't know. Ender Smile.
I'd say he probably, talking about Ender Smile, I've been working on something with that, and hopefully that might be out by the time this episode is out.
But
probably.
Quackity was
canon.
pretty...
This is real, not fake.
Quackity was really pissed off with Rambo for that, and he tried to get Tubbo to go after
Yeah,
him
he
for
tried
it.
to get him
tried to
executed.
pull us
Tubbo
back.
had to stand up. Look, that was actually like one of the best Tubbo moments. Like,
Oh yeah,
the best Tubbo moments are the ones where he stands up to someone who's trying to, like,
get him to do something.
Where he, like,
Pretty
it's
fucked
not
up.
even
Get him
the,
to
like,
do something.
passive-aggressive, okay, I'll do what you say, not really, sort of standing up, but, like, actually legitimately, he's like, no, what the fuck, what the fuck?
Yeah.
yeah, it's because I think Rambo in general is a very passive character, not like in like a bad way, but in the way that he tends to go along with stuff that other people do rather than starting stuff himself.
Yeah.
So some of his best moments are when he goes against that.
Yeah. And, but yeah, so there's that lesson, and then the final one, or no, sorry, the second to final one, because there's one more after this, is seek successful revenge or the consequences will be bitter. And I think we all know that that's talking about Techno. And how, in his eyes, going after Techno was sort of vengeance for Minecraft Mondays and for November 16th and his part to play in destroying Lemberg then. And that does not go
I
well.
think the fact that Minecraft Monday is canon because it means that when Dream and Techno first met, it's because it was
canon
Dream
for
asking if he
Quackity.
could play in Minecraft Monday with Techno.
I think it's canon for Quackity, at least, because he's brought it up
I'm
before
pretty sure.
as to why
I'm pretty sure.
he's scared of Techno.
Technoblade also referenced it when he was talking about that. So
Yeah,
it's canon for Quackity
it's canon for
and for
Quackity and
Technoblade.
Techno at least.
And like Dream hasn't said anything,
Yeah.
so that's my head canon. Unless Dream says something to contradict it.
It'd be kind of funny if that's how he meant Techno, but what a simp.
Look, unless Dream says something like, "Remember when we first met, when you joined the Dream SMP, or when we first met
Yeah.
on that mountain," then it's no longer canon. But unless he says something like that, I'm taking it as canon that they met at Minecraft Monday.
Kind of funny, but yeah. So that seems to be pretty clear. As to be something referencing back towards the Butcher's Army and Techno and how that went absolutely terrible, and then we got Doomsday. But the interesting thing about that lesson in particular is it's the only one that Slime sort of responds questioning back to, because Slime, Quackity tells him this, and then Slime responds, "Is revenge ever really worth it?" Because as far as he's seen, someone gets revenge on one person and that person goes to get revenge on them, and it's just an endless cycle with neither side ever ending. And it leads to this very long pause from Quackity, who then says that revenge isn't worth it. So that's kind of an interesting thing, because Quackity's one of the few characters I feel like who's gone for revenge the most. because of the Butcher's army.
I feel like he might be like in a what's it called, sunk cost fallacy situation. Like he knows that revenge isn't going to be worth it, but he feels like he's already put so much effort into getting his revenge
He has
that
to be going.
yeah.
Well, that's the question, right?
If he gives up now, then it will all have been a waste.
Yeah, well, that's the interesting thing, though, right? Because this is during the time of the period of time between when Techno and Dream got imprisoned and Techno's escape. So it's kind of an interesting level of either has he started to learn from himself, and obviously this comes back to play later in that particular lore stream with Purple. Who does a great job. But, I don't know, it's interesting to wonder if that sort of him admitting that is his sort of acknowledgement, like, that he knows that he's wrong for going after revenge, and that what he's doing isn't gonna really be worth it in the end, but he can't stop. So it's like, I don't know if it's this moment of, like, self-recognition and self-awareness, or if it's this sign of him reflecting back on his life and being like, well, maybe what I've been doing isn't worth it. But then again, right after that, he goes back to the prison and is telling Dream he's gonna kill Techno and kill Dream if he doesn't give him the book. Which, is that him just sort of completing revenge, or is that him trying to be done with the situation? I don't know. Either way. I don't know, something interesting to think about at least. And then we have our 7th lesson, and what we later learn is sort of the theme of this season, I guess. At least, or maybe it's gonna be this theme of next season, but legacy is all you have in this world is the final lesson that Quackity gives Slime. And he talks about how Los Nevadas is his legacy, and how it will be Slime's legacy, hopefully, as well, because he wants Slime to take over for him. I don't know, and it's interesting because that happens, and then immediately after that, in like 2 different streams, later in the weekend, and in that stream again, we get it brought up by like 3 different people. Or 2 or 3 different people in various situations. So it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure if it's because it's gonna be like the theme of next season, and they're just sort of cementing it in now. Like, hey, this is what you should be paying attention to.
I'm not sure if it's like gonna be a season theme or if it's gonna be like a Quackity theme.
I don't know.
Because legacy has come up in his lore like before, or it could become a thing where it's like a Quackity thing, and then other people start adopting that into their own stories.
Yeah.
And it becomes a season theme through that.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll have to wait and see.
It's definitely been a Quackity thing, but it's also interesting just to see how... Yeah, honestly, it's sort of just a Los Nevadas thing as a whole, because part of the way that he got the people to join Los Nevadas in the first place was by
trying to convince
asking
them that
what
joining
they
Los
think.
Nevadas will give them a legacy.
Exactly, yeah. So it's a lot of that, and it comes back to bite him in the ass later. Actually, it comes back to bite him in the ass right now. Because immediately after we get the 7th lesson, we get this audio recording over, like, I don't remember if it was over clips or what.
It was
of
just
Purple. Was it just blank? And it was Purple talking and stating, basically, that he isn't on Quackity's side. He has never been on Quackity's side. It's more just been a tactic for him to find a way to get revenge on Purple, or revenge on Quackity for destroying his UFO.
I was right.
AKA Purple's legacy.
I predicted this 6 months ago.
Yeah, of all of them, Purple's the one who makes the least sense for him to join up, and absolutely the one I would believe the most in betraying Quackity, because, like, other than Foolish,
so many
Foolish
people
literally died.
so fast.
But,
it was great.
like, yeah, out of everyone, it's got to be Purple, right? Because Purple has the loosest ties and the most suspicion of Quackity, so it just
also,
makes sense.
I just want to say, and I've said this before, but I am very proud of the content creator content creator Purple,
Yeah.
from going from not being very involved in the lore at all to having a big moment like this.
Oh yeah, Purple's done a lot of like really cool stuff in this very
and he's
subtle
definitely
way.
gotten a lot more confident than the first bits of lore he tried to do. And I think that's cool.
I think it's actually interesting because the way his lore goes is kind of similar to the way that Puns does it, which just sort of cements the whole like brother. mercenary thing. But they have a similar style where they don't tend to do like big lore things on their own channels, right? But they will show up for either small, like really important pieces of lore, and we'll get into that with puns later, or into other people's streams and playing a very big role, but in this often very understated way where we don't get to see after. Like Purple shows up in Quackity's lore in some very important ways multiple times now, but we never really, I don't know, it's interesting, we don't get into his point of view very often, but he plays such a major part, and I think Puns does kind of the same thing, except I think Puns we get like a little bit more insight into what his whole deal is. But even then, when we do, it's only for like 10-minute little bits of the end of a stream that is, I don't know, we'll get into Puns later, but yeah, so Purple reveals the fact that he's never been on Quackity's side. Fuck Quackity, he's just there to get revenge. Which, you know, ties back into that earlier lesson.
I actually, I saw an interesting theory somewhere, I can't remember where, it was on Tumblr or something. It's a Tumblr, Twitter, I think, but, basically, Purple was, like, at the start of his section, right, it sounded like he was, like, telling someone something, and it could just be, like, an inner monologue type thing.
Yeah, it definitely seems like he was talking to someone else.
It felt inner monologue.
So,
it could have been either, I'm not really sure.
I mean, it could have been, because we still don't know who Harper Crash, like, the extra member of the Syndicate is.
Sure.
And we also know that one other member of the Syndicate, Nikki, was someone who wasn't really that involved in lore. Now, she did have her own arcs and stuff with Jack, but was, like, struggling to get into lore before her character joined the Syndicate. So, if they wanted to have someone else in the Syndicate who was not as confident with lore and wanted something to do, Purple would be a choice.
Yeah, that would make sense. I don't know, it's interesting. We don't know a lot about Purple's character, because he doesn't do lore very often, but when he does, it's very interesting.
It's not impossible, I think. It's not the most likely possibility, but it's definitely something to consider.
Yeah. But before we get into the rest of what, so we get this reveal from Purple, and then we get to a scene of Quackity visiting Slime in his room, in which he gives him, I don't know if I want to call it a lesson, but he gives him like a piece of advice of the fact that the house always wins, which feels very strange because then he proceeds to lose everything. And get his ass beat constantly. But
I mean, it is called the Dream SMP, so.
True, the house. Yeah, okay, yeah, I get it.
Oh yeah, actually something to mention. Basically, also in his list stream, Quackity said something implying that Dream was the one who created the SMP.
Oh yeah.
Which has also been kind of like a vague thing, what exactly his connection to the server is in canon.
Yeah.
Admin Dream, Admin Dream, Admin Dream.
So what Quackity said basically implies, it could imply a few things depending on how you interpret it. Could be that Dream created the world.
Yeah.
Could be that he especially because something else we found out recently is that the reason XD looks like Dream is because Dream is the first human he saw.
Oh yeah,
it could be that Dream found the server and he was the first human to find it, and that's why it was the first human XD saw, if XD is like the server connected to it.
Yeah.
It could be that the server is like an area in a greater world, and Dream was the first one to come to that area and sort of settle there with his friends.
Yeah.
And that's what Quackity means by like laying the foundations. There's a few different ones, but it all kind of comes down to the same point. He's the one who started it. He was like there from the start.
Yeah.
He's got some connection, essentially.
Yeah.
He's not like just some random guy who happened to be there.
Yeah. Which I think we kind of knew. We just didn't know exactly in what way. But we're gonna talk about Dream and Dream XD later too, so we'll get into that. But Then comes the moment everyone has been waiting for, fiance's angst. Because we leave Quackity and Slime with that final lesson. And we go to Sapnap's point of view. And Sapnap is wandering around Las Nevadas. And Quackity finds him. And they talk. And Quackity's still butthurt over the fact that he thinks that they made Kanoko Kingdom without him and just sort of abandoned him. And Sapnap's very insistent on the fact that, no, Carl was supposed to invite you. He said he was going to send you an invitation. I think he said he did send you an invitation, so I'm very confused. Quackity's like, no, you're lying, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's over, I'm done, I don't want to talk about it. And Sapnap's like, no. We've been working in Kanoko Kingdom. Come to Kanoko Kingdom. We'll figure this all out. And eventually he, wheedles Quackity down into going with him. And then we get the angstiest of angst.
The thing is, like, you can tell that Quackity's, like, he's considering it.
Yeah. I think he wants to believe them.
He wants to reconnect with them.
Yeah, and I think he wants to believe. I think part of him wants to believe that there could have been just like a mistake, but the more rational part of him is like, though there's no way that this is a huge thing to just forget to tell someone. There's no way that this was a mistake. I want to be friends with them, but I don't want to. If we rehash this, then I know that shit's gonna go down. But Sapnap convinces him, and then takes him to Kanoko, shows him around. And then they encounter Carl, who seems confused as fuck as to why Quackity's there. Yeah, well, Carl seems very, very, like, confused and sort of weirded out by Quackity being there. And it comes off to the audience as very much like, does he know who Quackity is? And it turns out he does know who Quackity is. The problem isn't that he doesn't know who Quackity is, the problem is that he doesn't remember any of the good things about his relationship with Quackity. The only thing he remembers really about Quackity is the really bad shit, including the fact that Quackity is responsible for him dying in the El Rapids fiasco, which isn't quite how it plays out, but Quackity was sort of the one leading the charge on that, even though Sapnap's the one who suggested it, and Carl's the one who agreed to it, but Carl thinks of Quackity as a murderer, and Carl thinks that Quackity's really just there, and that Sapnap brought him there really just to taunt Carl, and Carl's very upset by his presence there. And Quackity, in turn, gets super fucking pissed because he's like, you're just calling me a murderer. You're calling me a murderer. Like, you agreed it was our plan. Like, you can't just call me that. And Carl's like, okay, well, all I remember of you is you got me killed. So, hoo-ah. And Quackity gets upset, is to put it lightly. And Sapnap is just stuck in the middle trying to keep his family together, and it's not working out very well. Kind of feel bad for Sapnap in that situation. Because he's just like, it's okay, guys. We can get along. And they're like, no, we can't. So, poor Sapnap. He tries so hard. His family's falling apart around him. But,
you're tearing this family apart!
Exactly. But, so Quackity basically tells Sapnap that he and Sapnap are good. Quackity's pissed at Carl, and Carl, thinks Quackity's a murderer and doesn't want to have anything to do with him. Quackity says Sapnap's welcome back to Las Nevadas anytime he wants, but to never invite Quackity back to Kanoko and to not invite Carl. Quackity and Carl are completely split. They're donezo. So we get fiance's lore, and it's sad. And Carl, we get sort of
different from sad.
That's true. It was a little different than I expected, because I thought
we
that
get
Carl
a better
would
idea of what Carl, what his memory
things.
is like. Because we know he remembers Sapnap probably because he's around him a lot.
Yeah. That probably does help.
But because he hasn't seen Quackity in a long time, he's sort of forgotten him.
Yeah. And the other thing we do know is that Carl's skin had changed.
Which is
and his
interesting
eyes were
because...
which we don't really know the significance of.
No, we know that. It's because his character canonically has, like, yellow eyes. And, like, his VTuber avatar also has the same.
Oh, so did he just change
just
up the brightness of them?
He just got around to changing it.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, wow, and I know a lot of people are.
But something interesting is that this stream kind of revealed, like, why his memory loss hasn't really been spotted. It's because he can remember stuff that he's around a lot easily, like Sapnap or Kanoko and all that. but if he hasn't been reminded of something, he forgets it very easily.
Yeah.
Like, the reason he remembers dying is probably
That's
because
a traumatic event.
like, that was a traumatic event, so he thinks about it like more than he would other things, and especially because you remember bad experiences more easily than good ones in general.
Yeah. And the part he seems to have forgotten is the fact that Sapnap is the one who actually, agreed or made that plan. Sapnap is the one who sort of made that idea in the first place, and Carl's the one who sort of agreed to it. So I guess he kind of sort of forgot about that point and focused more on the
it makes sense that especially like people like Sapnap who are around him a lot haven't spotted the fact that he's losing his memory. Because most of the stuff around him is stuff that he remembers, and it's only when he's confronted with something that he's forgotten that it becomes clear that something's wrong.
Yeah. But, so we get the fiancé's fallout, and then we go forward in time a little bit to immediately after Techno has escaped. Prison alarms are blaring. We get a brief clip of Quackity and Sam in the prison from that one lore stream of them yelling at Sam and yelling at Dream and yelling at Techno and everything. So we get like a brief flash of that to sort of set the scene, and then we go into Quackity in Las Nevadas with Slime running up to him, and then they get approached by Purpled, and Quackity's freaking out and trying to tell Purple to go gather everyone up, and then Purple says, I have a situation too, and I think it's more important. Someone left a chest, and Quackity and Slime go over to it, and Slime goes to check it because they think it's trapped, and it is trapped, but in a way that's different than they anticipated, because Slime opens it, there's nothing inside, they turn around, Purple's standing by a lever, he flicks it, and it drops them into the most awesome death pit arena I have ever seen. It's like a suspended platform over a sea of lava, and it looks baller. I cannot get over how cool that was. I think Purple's incredibly extra, and I think he does it well. And I love it for him. Purple's amazing. Yeah, so Quackity and Slime get dropped down. Quackity's like, what the fuck are you doing? We can't be doing this right now. Purple says, I don't care. You blew up my UFO.
He goes full boss mode.
I'm not... Like, I was always gonna do this. Purple drops down, puts on some armor, and then reveals the fact that he has known that Quackity has been visiting the prison, this whole time.
And he wants the book.
Now, the thing that stood out to me, though, about that situation is that Purple asks for the book, demands it, basically. Quackity says he doesn't have it. Purple doesn't believe him. Blah, 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 so on and so forth. You know, the regular, like, deal for the book. Because this happens with everyone, basically. And so, Purple and Quackity fight. And then Quackity insists that he doesn't have the book, and Purple sort of gives up on it. And then, or Purple the thing to me is that I don't know if Purple wants the book specifically because he wants the book, or if it's just that he knows... I think he wants it to piss off Quackity. Yeah, that's what I got the impression of. It's not that he really wants the Revive book, it's that he wants specifically something that Big Q has had and has fought for, and he wants to take it from him.
He wants it because Quackity wants it, basically.
Yeah. And so, Big Q says that I don't have it, and even if I did, I wouldn't give it to you. And Purple pulls the most girl boss move ever, says good, jumps past Quackity, and throws Slime into the lava. Which, damn, man, talk about a statement. Honestly, Slime's death is like one of the coolest deaths I think that have happened on the Dream SMP, just to me personally, just because, I mean, it was kind of lame the way he just melts into the lava, whatever, but like, just the setup for it is really cool.
I think there was definitely a little bit of backstage magic going on there, because Slime stood in that lava for so long.
He did stand in the lava for a surprising amount of time.
It takes longer than you think to die from lava in Minecraft.
Yeah.
Even if you're not wearing armor.
Maybe it's that.
It feels so
I
long
always feel
though,
like I
because
die
they have
so
like
fast
they
when I
have
get
this giant. They have this dramatic goodbye, and then a few seconds more, and then he dies.
That's true. They might have, I don't know, maybe they give him extra health or something. But, yeah, but Quackity jumps into the lava with him and starts putting down sand and telling Slime to get on the sand. And Slime just uses the moment instead to give sort of his final goodbyes. And then he dies. It's not really clear, to me anyways, how that works with Slime. Because everyone else has 3 cannon lives, right? And so you'd think that, he'd lose the 1 cannon life and then he'd be relatively okay. Other than,
he's a mob.
Trauma. Yeah, exactly. He's a mob. So he doesn't properly die, right? Because, we think he dies, and then we get sort of this time fast forward of events, finding out that Quackity has been researching slimes to try and help Slime, who he names Charlie. So he's been researching slimes to try and help Charlie, and make him and put him back together. But we see that Charlie's still, alive, but he's just, completely dormant and unresponsive and is more slimy than before.
He's back to how he was before.
Yeah. So it's, it's implied that he's not, dead, but he's not...
He's kind of reversed.
Yeah, I guess that's the best way
No,
to put it.
it's
So he's
literally one of
reverted.
those regress things.
Yeah. So he's basically, completely dormant, catatonic. And Quackity talks about how, he's been trying to help him, and that he left a chest with a bunch of books in it for Slime to,
I've seen a few people, do art and stuff about the idea that he might come back as, a magma cube rather than a slime, you know?
That'd be kinda neat.
Like once you find the nether.
That'd actually be pretty
Because lava.
I mean...
I shouldn't laugh.
No, actually, that's actually kind of funny, but kind of cool at the same time. But, so... He is catatonic. There's a chest full of books. Quackity goes through them and finds that one of them has been written in. But it looks like gibberish. So he says, did you do this? Did you write in this? Blah, 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 blah. He runs out. Him and Foolish work on it. They realize, Foolish works on it apparently and realizes that certain letters on each page have a extra space on either side of them. And that if you take each letter from each page, you get the word legacy. Quackity freaks out because he's like, oh my god, he remembers, he's coming back, it's good, we're good. Runs back to Charlie's room, and Charlie's gone. Because, of course, angst. Yeah, so Charlie's gone. Quackity, I think that's the end of the stream. I don't think Quackity does anything after that. But yeah, no, and then it goes into his, merch ad, actually, a little bit. So it goes into his...
Okay, well, that's really cool. You know what, apparently, have you seen his tweet? Apparently, he videoed that the morning before the stream.
Oh my god.
Oh, did he? Oh, you know what, I think I do remember him saying that, yeah. It was actually really cool, because it goes into, real person, real life footage of him at the beach.
Live action.
With this, sort of monologue that he gives about making a legacy of Las Nevadas sort of in Charlie's memory, because he said that he was gonna do what Charlie basically asked him to. So it was a really nice moment. It was really, really cool, and it sort of seems like, I feel like it's setting the stage for season 4 of Quackity focusing on Las Nevadas and getting that legacy built. Now with just him, Foolish, and Fundy as the last remaining members of Las Nevadas. Which it doesn't leave, it's sort of like the end of, it's a really good finale for season 3, because it builds up a lot for, I think, what season 4 is going to be like, but, I don't know, it's dramatic, it's cool, it's heartwarming, it's sad at times, it's got all those things that you want in a finale. It's got sort of a cliffhanger. I don't know, it's like this nice, cross of a finale and a starting season episode, like a pilot episode. So I think it goes really, really well.
So, you guys want to talk about the breakout now?
Yes, we should definitely get into that. Yeah, so next day.
The next day.
the jailbreak from Sunday, the 28th, which we were all so hyped for and have all been waiting for so long, and it's finally happened.
We win these!
Yeah!
Oh my god! We win these! So much! We win these so hard!
Yeah, but a lot happened on Sunday, so we're gonna break it down. We're gonna break it down, and I think the easiest way to do it in a sort of not pointing out like the major things, but we're gonna kind of follow
Dream,
like sort of the main event stream, and we're gonna follow Dream because Dream is very essential to this day, and he shows up in quite a few streams for like big lore things, and it's kind of following him. He is our main character, baby.
He is. It's called it's the Dream SMP, man.
So we're gonna start by talking about that jailbreak portion of Techno stream. So basically, the start of Techno stream till him and Dream split up. And then we're gonna go and we're gonna follow Dream from Punza's stream to Tommy's stream and cover what happened there. And then we're gonna go into Sapnap's stream. And then we'll see what we have time left for after that. Because a lot happened on Sunday and then the week after that.
Techno stream.
Yeah,
okay.
Start with Techno.
We start off with Techno Blade. Doing this really cool pre-recorded section, which no one was expecting, so it just shocked
it's not
us
a techno move.
It's a little pre-recorded section of the day before the prison break, where Techno Blade, he's even talking to us like it's on a stream. It's just God. And he's showing us the blueprints, what they're like, and obviously they've been compressed, so you can't really make out a lot of the details, but they're super cool looking. And he's going up Tommy's tower to take a look at, basically scope out the prison, which implies that he's been making plans on how to get Dream out ever since he got out. And then from that point, that vantage point, he sees Sam and Rambo. And Sam is just punching Rambo towards the prison gates. Punch, punch, punch. And then they get in, and that's sort of like when Techno realizes, oh shit, Rambo's being jailed, and starts booking it towards him.
And he gets there just as the portal breaks. He mentioned that was pre-recorded, so I wonder if they had to do like multiple takes of that.
I wonder if they had to do multiple
or if they were
takes
just lucky the first time.
Yeah, oh god. I wonder how many times they had to do the timer. I'm guessing they also like TP'd both of them out because,
Yeah. But so we start off with finding out that Rambo is now in jail.
Which leads to the syndicate.
By the end of the episode, by the end of the day, we actually still don't know why he got put in jail exactly.
We're pretty sure it has something to do with his connection with Dream, because Sam seemed to believe Rambo would make a good hostage against the Necromancer.
Yeah, we'll get that's its own sort of fun thing at the end. But yeah, so Rambo's in jail, and then we go from this sort of pre-recorded segment into live action, and we get the syndicate meeting with Phil and Techno and Nikki and a dog they name Apollo.
Which dies because Sam is
member of the syndicate.
Sam's heartless.
Yes.
Sam is
heartless. Yeah, but so...
for how much he likes Fran, he sure kills a lot of dogs.
He doesn't seem to care about anyone else's
Even
pets.
in manhunts!
Yeah. So we get the syndicate meeting. Techno explains that, he's going into prison. He's going to break Dream out because he owes Dream a favor. But that Rambo has also been jailed. So he would like their help. And Nikki and Phil agree to help him. Blah, 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 blah. They come up with a strategy where Techno's going to be the one to break into the jail, while Phil acts as sort of a warning signal for Nikki, who is to set off Withers if anything
things go bad.
Basically, as a distraction.
Yeah.
So that's sort of their plan. And then they have horses in waiting for escaping. That's sort of... It's not a bad strategy, to be honest.
It's not a bad strategy, but it's really sort of telling of the sort of relationship between Techno and Dream, and sort of how they do the quote-unquote favors in that, and Techno's relationship with the syndicate, and that the favor with Dream is personal, so he didn't want to get the syndicate involved. The moment Rambo was captured, he was like, this is now a syndicate problem.
Yeah. that's sort of why he brings him in. I think he probably would have ended up asking Phil anyways, because Phil's his friend outside of the Syndicate as well. So I feel like he would have asked.
I think Phil, with this Ender Stasis Pearl, I think he would have asked Phil to, like, hey, I'm gonna put an Ender Pearl down in the Stasis Chamber. Can you, like, flick the switch 3 days after I leave if I don't come back? Not 3 months, Phil.
But, yeah, so they sort of set up this plan and they go off, and then Techno, as he goes, sort of reveals the strategy for breaking in, which is a lot simpler than it seemed, because remember, everyone had always been, like, planning, like, how do we get in past everything, and a lot of people came up with these very, very complicated plans.
We go through the ceiling, we go get a map of the blueprints and how to get back. No, he just digs a hole underneath everything.
Yeah,
and the one spot where
I mean, it works.
It does work. Yeah, so it turns out that the way that the mining fatigue in the prison works is that they have Elder Gardens on actual mine carts on a track that goes throughout the prison. So, with three Elder Gardens that go around, so that if, you
drink milk, another one just immediately applies it to you.
One hits you. Yeah, so the way that he ends up deciding that the flaw in the system, so to speak, if you dig deep enough. Yeah, I said that because I was like, wait, that sounded really weird. If you dig deep enough underneath the prison, that the mining fatigue doesn't hit you, and there aren't signals there to set off an alarm. So if you dig deep enough and you go underneath and into the obsidian and the lava, then you can technically get into the prison without worrying about mining fatigue at first, and then you just need fire resistance to get through all the lava. So he does this.
It's really
and it works.
yeah, it works. It works first off, because I think he also mentioned that there's just a specific area where the Elder Guardians just don't reach you.
Yeah. You have to go like super deep down.
Yeah.
I don't remember what Y level he got to.
He finds diamonds when he's down there digging a tunnel, and he has to go around there because he doesn't have space to pick them up in his inventory.
Yeah, I think it was like
he found diamonds.
So it's like right
I believe it was like Y11 because there was a lava pool nearby.
Yeah.
So that just shows how fucking deep the prison is. Yeah. Like, holy crap.
And I think the interesting thing about it is that, and Sam brings this up later, is like the only way you would know about a flaw like that and then how to get in and then navigate the prison itself is if you had insider information, which luckily for Techno he does because he has the plans and the blueprints.
No, I have to wonder, obviously, because Dream knew about this flaw, obviously Sam must have known about it, so I have to wonder the conversation between the two, like, how Dream convinced Sam not to cover this flaw up, and I'm pretty sure it had something with, like, are you really sure you want to wrangle another Elder Guardian back to the prison?
I don't know, I'm kind of curious about that myself, honestly. Is it something, because I feel like Sam would have to have known about it, and I think the way it would have probably gone in canon probably is that he just assumed that it's a flaw that no one would really know about without like experimenting, right? So the only ones who would know about it are the people who built it, and obviously there's no way
Dream's gonna tell anyone.
Part of
no
what Sam says later is that he didn't expect any maniac to be like anyone to be stupid or as much of a maniac to actually break into the prison to break him out. So I think part of it, he was like, there isn't a real way for me to actually, prevent this thing from happening, and even if it does, the chances of someone getting in and not dying are so low that
I think
it's a risk, but it's like the most small risk possible.
So the Elder Guardians are put on this trackway in the minecarts and trackway, right? I think and the reason that there's this area where they just don't reach, probably because of the way they have the Elder Guardians spaced out, is my assumption. So I think a way to fix it would be to get another Elder Guardian here, but to get another Elder Guardian here, and like Sam's talked about how wrangling the Elder Guardian just took fucking forever. So
yeah, I'm not surprised. I have no idea how you'd get an Elder Guardian in a minecart track
or boats,
and then all the way over there.
Yeah,
like, that would have been a nightmare.
Yeah, which is why I think like how Sam might have just brought it up to Dreams, like, yeah, so there's gonna be a section of the prison where the Elder Guardians can't cover, and then should we go get a new Elder Guardian? And then Dream could have possibly told them, like, are you sure you want to go out and grab another Elder Guardian? Because I'm not gonna help you with that.
Well, I know a funny thing out of canon was literally Sam said later that, they had me break an unbreakable prison, like a prison you cannot break into, and then a week ago, 3 days ago, Dream and Techno cornered me in a thing and are like, okay, so how do we break into the prison? He's like, you told me to make this impossible to break into and break out of. You're really now asking me, how do we get in a reasonable way? And Sam had to spend hours thinking of a way to basically jailbreak his own creation, which I just felt really bad for content creator Sam, because imagine being told I want you to make this unbreakable safe, and you do it, and then a couple weeks later they're like, okay, now how do you break into your unbreakable safe? And he's like, are you kidding me? This is exactly the opposite of what you had me do in the first place. But yeah, so that's the flaw in the prison. Apparently you can go underneath, which I bet after having someone actually break in and out of that way, Sam probably, character Sam is probably thinking of ways to, fix that. But
it's really one of those in hindsight things, because again, no one should know about this flaw in the prison, because to know about it, you have to have been there when it was built, or you have to have insider information or blueprints. And the only people who know about it is Dream and Sam. And presumably, Sam was under the impression that Dream wasn't expecting to get locked in the prison, so he was not expecting Dream to have left blueprints for Techno to use to get into the prison, etc., etc.
I think it's one of those things where, until someone has broken into the prison, you aren't thinking about, when you're coming up with the prison, you're building it, you're coming up with all the ways to keep someone from breaking out. And it's only until, and you cover as much of that as possible, and it's only until someone's actually broken in and is breaking out that you think, okay, so what possible ways could they be doing it? And then you go through the sort of the last resort things, and the things that have a 1% chance of working, if that. And that was sort of why by the end of the stream he's chasing them out through that exit.
This isn't even the first time people have broken the prison, or broken into this unbreakable prison. This is just the official time. Foolish has been digging a tunnel by abusing the login mechanic. Rambo got in with chorus fruit. Aaron broke into the 1 obsidian thick ceiling, and freaking Tubbo broke the nether portal.
Yeah, there's a ton of ways to break in technically. It's just that in a lore set, if they're actually being cautious about it, because I don't know. There's a bunch of ways to break in. It's just that once you're in, it's very hard to get any farther than the first point you're into. Because even if you're breaking into the ceiling, you're not breaking into any of the rooms, and then you have mining fatigue. So you're not gonna get much farther than that, except for being in the walls.
TNT.
Most of which, you can't break through unless you have TNT, which is what Techno does. Techno makes great use of TNT.
And he also
to break
uses,
through all the other things.
So there's this brief second when you drink the milk that the mining fatigue disappears, and you can mine stuff super fast with an efficiency 5 netherite pickaxe. So he was able to break certain blocks within a second.
Yeah, and if he couldn't, then he'd just blow them up, and it worked out very well for him.
Yeah.
But so that's how Techno breaks in. He gets slightly lost for a second.
Something interesting I saw pointed out about the breakout is that they were careful not to damage the redstone, which implies the prison is going to be used again.
That's true. He did
because
break
it still needs to be
some
functional.
of it, but he didn't
he exposed the redstone, looked at it, it's let me just cover this back up.
Yeah, I think he only blew it up in the few cases where he didn't have a choice to get through to the room, because Sam would block them in with obsidian into certain checkpoint
One thing I don't get is why, maybe it's because it was planned that way so they could have the whole breaking into Connor's cell thing, but why didn't you just use an ender pearl when Sam used obsidian to block off the way to
I think they forgot they had ender pearls for a second.
They forgot they had ender pearls a few times, to be honest. They only remembered it every once in a while.
My favorite part of the prison break stream, well, aside from so since we're gonna have to break this area anyway, pulls out TNG. Let's do this in style. Aside from that, my favorite part is Dream opening his ender chest, looking in and finding 22 bells. in his ender
Yeah.
chest.
I'm assuming that he got those when he was running around the server looking for enchanted golden apple.
Probably, but it is very funny of like Techno brought a bell with him, and
No.
then Dream, and the bell has just been a thing with them because that's
It's
what
so
Techno
funny.
asked for from Dream XD, and then Dream just looks in his ender chest, which he probably hasn't looked in for at least a year.
No,
and it's just like, why do I have 22 bells?
No, it's
And
so
Techno's
funny
just
because
breaking up.
when Techno asks for the bell, Dream's like, why did you ask for a bell? Why did you ask for a way out of here? Why did you ask for an ender chest? And Techno's like, I don't have a bell in my ender chest. And then Dream yells up, like, I have bells in my ender chest. And Techno's like, well, why do you have bells in your ender chest? It just seems like a waste of an ender chest slot to me. And then Prison Break stream, Techno freaking brings in bells. He saves it, and he's like, I have no inventory space, and he saves one slot for a freaking bell. And then Dream's like,
course
why do
He
I
put
have bells?
his
He's
ender
gotta make
chest
money
in
somehow.
his ender chest at one point, and that's hilarious.
It's so funny. And the Dream's just like, take these.
Yeah, but so let's see. So Techno breaks into the jail. He breaks Dream out of his cell, and they get attacked by BBH and Sam. And apparently Jack says he was supposed to be there as well, but his spawn was really far away, and I don't know exactly.
It
how
was
much of
really
that
far
is actually
away. It's
planned.
like so
But,
far away, actually.
Yeah.
No, but
So
they just
so-
farmed. They just farmed bad for his items,
yeah, they killed Bad, and then Sam ran away.
and then they killed Bad again.
And then they killed Bad again. So poor Bad.
Hey,
Yeah,
he's
so
not
Bad
getting
gets
that
killed,
Christmas
I think,
rain.
2 or 3 times.
I think a very important part of Sam's character is the fact that he's a coward.
Yeah.
He's scared of things and he doesn't admit that to himself.
To be fair, it wasn't a bad strategy because instead of letting himself die, he managed to block them into the rooms, which made them have to go through different routes. Unfortunately, probably made more work for content creator Sam, who now has to fix the redstone they did blow up. But you know,
Yeah, they'll probably just give him creator mode, honestly.
I mean,
oh yeah,
I mean, there's a
we haven't
chance,
talked
but
about the
also like
funniest-
there's this weird thing of the Dream SMP where they don't, where like for a good section of stuff they just will not use creative mode for anything.
Yeah, Dream's very, very strict about when you can use creative mode because we know that the prison was built entirely in survival.
Yeah.
Because Sam has talked about how Dream forced a bunch of people to go resource hunting all night for it
It
when
talks
Sam
about
was
how
trying
they
to
used-
finish it.
They resorted to lava buckets after a while instead of mining for obsidian.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame him for that. Yeah, so let's see, let's think. So we get that. We didn't talk about the funniest bit. I think we mentioned it, but they go. Dream tries to get Techno to leave. Techno refuses because Rambu's still there, and Techno says he's not leaving without Rambu. Dream's freaking out, but Techno won't show him the way out. And so he agrees to stay, which, you know, I feel like it's pretty reasonable of him to be freaking the hell out because this is his first chance at, you know, not being in a literal hellhole.
If he loses that
in a
chance,
year.
he's done for, essentially.
Yeah. So he and Techno stay and look for Rambu. They break into the lower security cells, and they think they find Rambu's cell, but it's not Rambu, it's Connor.
Connor's
Connor
just
eats pants.
there!
Why? Because he apparently pretended to be a veteran at Chick-fil-A. That is not a joke. It's a joke in canon. It's a bit, but it's very funny.
It's canon.
Yeah, so they find Connor, and then Rambu's next to Connor, and Rambu later states that you never want to be locked in prison with Connor because he will tell you all the things that you do not want to know.
Rambo just has it out for the guy.
I mean, I feel like Connor's probably a weird conversationalist.
I mean, okay, but like
I don't think I'd want to be stuck next
the
to
one
him.
when Tommy and Techno waterboarded Connor, Rambo's like, they asked Rambo if he was okay. He was like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he did not care.
He said that he thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Eh.
Oh,
Oh, that's
it's
funny.
a dark moment for Rambu.
No,
Uh,
Rambo's just like that.
That's true.
No, it's.
But yeah,
it's-
so they break out
It's
Connor.
really funny because they have armor. Techno has armor for Rambo and Dream, but he was not expecting Connor, and then Dream just has armor from Techno killing Bad Boy Halo over and over again. So he's just like,
Yes.
it's so funny
They're like,
because
oh, we
Techno's
do
about
have
to-
stuff for you.
Yeah, I know, so we don't have enough stuff, but I think Dream just like gives him netherite armor because he had
Yeah.
extra. It's really funny because the first time Bad dies, Techno blows up his stuff. The second time Bad dies, Dream walks over, just picks it all up, and Techno's like, "You're just farming netherite armor."
Yeah. And the only thing that Dream is like that he doesn't have and makes a big deal out of is the fact that Techno didn't bring any netherite pickaxes. And it's the one thing that Dream doesn't have, and he's just like, why would you break into something that you know it's hard to mine out of and not bring a pickaxe?
Well, Techno's response is because you can't mine out of it.
Yeah. So, here, let's finish this one up really fast, at least to the point where they break out. So Dream and Rambo bicker. Rambo's very concerned about the fact that Dream's breaking out with him. They break back into the underground. They go down the tunnel. Sam and Bad start following them out, and they emerge outside.
And then Rambo dies.
Well,
Okay.
it's a little bit more complicated than that. Well, first off,
They emerge outside,
shut up, Rambo.
and everyone is there.
That's great. I can't. I'm just gonna freak out over every little bit of Dream interaction we have. Sorry about that. But,
You know what, but Rambo does die, so let's briefly do that, because Sam decides that the best way to get Dream to stop is to take Rambo hostage by pretending that Sam has Michael, Rambo's son. Rambo takes off his armor because he's a dumbass and agrees to be a hostage. And then Sam tries to
gets pushed into the water.
Yeah. Sam tries to use Rambo to bring Dream back, which opens up a lot of questions about what Sam thinks their relationship is like, because Dream doesn't give a shit. Also,
well,
Dream
says
again
he doesn't
is a
give a shit,
necromancer.
and then proceeds to run off, saying, "Techno, come on, let's go. I don't care about Rambo. Let's go, Techno." And then Techno's out there yelling, "Sam, you have the wrong hostage. Dream doesn't care about Rambo. I care about Rambo."
Yep. And
So that's interesting though, is like,
But
we know like Dream's typical thing when someone tries to threaten him with something he's attached
pretend
to.
you don't care.
Is pretend you don't care about it.
Yeah.
But when you look at his actual actions during that, he doesn't leave.
Well,
he
sticks around and helps Rambo. And I'm pretty sure when Sam kills Rambo, he helps Techno fight
I think
before they
Techno
escape.
starts fighting because he does the whole regaming thing, and then I think I think Dream starts fighting like BBH and the other people around, and then he tries to get
the thing is
Techno to leave.
So something really interesting. The first time Dream and Techno like very obviously team up is during Doomsday, and when it happens, when they sort of make that agreement, Dream accidentally leaves Technoblade behind with the rest of the server. And Techno complains to him about it. Dream apologizes, and it's sort of like brushed off. And then now, in this situation, basically the entire server is there. Technoblade isn't leaving. Dream isn't leaving without Technoblade.
Yeah, he doesn't.
That
go
was the thing.
without him.
He was fighting as 1v6 against like Sapnap, technically Puns, who was slapping him with a stake. That was just very funny. He's like fighting against. Like, during that entire time when Sam was, like, posturing and then holding Rambo hostage, and Techno was there, like, trying to get Rambo to go with them, and Connor was there, and Jack was there, and, like, Dream was busy fighting off Sapnap. He was busy fighting off literally everyone else who was there attacking, and he was just running around, moving back and forth, trying to get Techno to leave with them so they can get out of there. But Techno doesn't move, so Dream doesn't leave either.
And then, until Sam fully kills Rambo, who apparently only had one cannon life left, which we'll get into later.
Now we have no idea where the other two went.
And then,
Also, Techno kills Sam, and we don't know if that's canon.
I don't think
or not.
Did he actually
Techno
kill
did not kill
Sam?
Sam. Techno did not kill Sam.
I didn't think he did.
He tries to.
I thought he tried, but I think eventually the battle keeps going.
And then
Wait,
so they
kill
give
Sam?
up,
I
and
don't remember him killing Sam.
Techno retreats with Dream. They get to the horses.
They get to the horses and
with
then,
Philza, and they book it back to the Arctic.
and then Nikki has already separated off and run off.
Yeah.
And so that's the end of the breakout, and I think Hello, and welcome back to the final Season 1 Mellohi Spotlight. Thank you all so much for sticking with us this whole time, and hey, if you're new and don't know, this Spotlight section is where we shout out a content creator, whether that be an artist, animator, theorist, or analyst, who creates fan content for the Dream SMP so that you all can find them. We've had an amazing selection of spotlights over the course of Mellohi, and today we're going to go out with a bang and bring you a bit of a variety to select from. First off, our Animator Spotlight is going to Jay Saucin on YouTube, who created an amazing animatic about the Eggpire, lead up to the Red Banquet, and a bunch of the different parts of the story from early Season 3 that we haven't yet seen conclude, but seems like we're leading back into. If you want to check them out, you can go and watch Paint It Red by Jay Saucin on YouTube. It's truly a masterclass in animation, and it looks really, really cool. On the other side, we're going to spotlight a theorist and writer, Dream of a Game on Twitter. Dre, as I like to call them, is an everyone apologist who has written a lot of very well done theories and analysis of different characters on the SMP, mostly focusing around Dream, Sam, Quackity, Wilbur, Tommy, okay, basically everyone. Dre also does art on their main Twitter account and has written some of the angstiest drabbles that one can imagine, as well as a bit of fluff here and there. You can check them out at Dream of a Game on Twitter. And lastly, thank you again to all of you viewers for sticking with us and celebrating these amazing creators with us. As always, if you know of someone you think deserves a spotlight for Season 2, you can let us know through our Twitter account, at Mellohi Podcast, in our YouTube comments, or by joining our Discord server. Thank you again, and please enjoy the rest of the episode.
Alright, so where did we leave off? Because I think we just got to him escaping from prison.
We completed the escape.
Yeah,
and
Dream and Techno had just left.
we finished the escape, and then we were about to just start talking about sort of the split of Techno and Dream, and them arriving at Techno's house and sort of that conversation.
I just want to mention a theory about Dream and Techno splitting up that I've seen. Like, we know that Dream does this thing where he pretends to have a falling out with someone that he's allies with.
Snowy was
as
just
part of his
talking about
plans.
this yesterday, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like,
And we also know that there's still stuff unrevealed, right? Those books that Dream gave Techno, they labeled stuff like Dream, Sam, Quackity.
Yeah.
We haven't seen what's in those yet. In the actual breakout, and there was a book with the blueprints, and we haven't seen the contents of those books during the actual breakout. We only saw the blueprints, so that's something that's still being unrevealed. So it might be connected to Dream doing the same thing he did with Puns, where he pretends that there's been a falling out between them when there actually hasn't. Or it could just be related to like Ronbu dying.
Yeah, that's the other one I've seen. But yeah, so they get there, and Dream seems to think that they're gonna stick together, and then Techno's like, no, favor is over. Give me your armor. Get lost.
I mean, I'm personally a fan of the idea that the plan is that they were supposed to split up, and Dream had written that down, but after having been in prison for so long, he's kind of forgotten the details of what was supposed to happen next.
Yeah.
And Techno was trying to subtly tell him that the next part of the plan is that you fuck off to be your boyfriend.
Yeah.
Which he does.
Okay. So we might just we might end up doing a whole episode talking about that, but staged finale theory canon.
Yes. I think it'd be a good.
Like, how long has that even been a theory? Because I'm pretty sure people first started coming up with that theory not long after this confrontation actually happened.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like very, very shortly after the disconfrontation actually happened.
A month or two.
But yeah, so we should probably talk about this. So, Techno and Dream split up. Dream runs off, and they seem to part on like relatively good terms. Like, Dream seems happy and is
good but neutral.
Is saying that, you know, he owes him a favor, blah 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 blah, for everything, and they'll see each other later. And then Techno realizes after he runs off that, you know, well, maybe I should have asked him to revive Rambu. That's fine. We'll just talk about it next time I see him.
You forget Resident Necromancer is a resident necromancer.
So Dream leaves, and the next time we see him is on Punz's stream, because Punz has been sort of doing his own thing.
And slapping Dream with steak.
Yeah, so we should probably backtrack. So during the jailbreak, we kind of went over Techno's point of view, but there's a bunch of other stuff that also happened from all the other streams' points of views, which is like Sapnap, Michael, Nikki, Tommy wasn't streaming at the time, but Aaron, Boomer, and Hannah all had
Puns.
Puns, all had different sort of things going on while Techno was breaking into the prison, and then in the reactions afterwards. So I guess we can probably go briefly over that, because a couple of different things that happened was Sapnap, Michael, and Aaron had a conversation about Dream being in the prison, which was kind of funny. Where Sapnap described Dream as a fucked up guy, but then he got put in the prison and he got a different kind of fucked up, but he's still the original kind of fucked up too, and he can't leave until he's not fucked up. And Michael's like, okay, but if the prison's making him a new kind of
I
fucked up,
think Sapnap's in like serious denial about how fucked up the prison is.
It was such a
which like makes sense because he helped with like locking Dream up.
Yeah.
So if he accepts that
he doesn't want
the
to be
prison is
for
bad,
Dream's
then
extra
it means that he is responsible for that.
Yeah. And then Aaron has sort of a similar reaction when the breakout alarms start going off, because Aaron's just kind of like, why are you all like going after him? Just leave him alone. You guys shouldn't be killing the people who are jailbreaking him. Because Aaron and Michael both don't really know exactly what he's done, but then I guess Tommy tells them, and they're still kind of like, this seems kind of fucked up. But so we get our residency Dream apologists, Michael and Aaron.
Didn't the conversation between Michael and Aaron and Sapnap happen where Sapnap talks about the Skeppy cage and acts like Skeppy was actually put in the cage, and that the whole thing wasn't just one...
I love that, because it's like, as they do it, they're trying not to laugh about the fact that there was a Skeppy cage.
Yeah.
It's a whole...
You know what would be like the funniest thing, right? So you know what would be the funniest thing? If in Dreamosaurus Dream, right, we get a flashback to where he's building the boat. Obviously, rehearsal theory has got to be confirmed true. He was like rehearsing his speech to Punz and Ranbu, and that's how Ranbu was able to recite stuff that he wasn't there for. He was there for the rehearsal. But also, we know that Dream got the cat disc of Skeppy. So here is my headcanon. He invited Skeppy to the attachment boat for that deal, and while he was there, Skeppy decided to make the Skeppy cage because he thought it would be hilarious. That is my headcanon.
Built it for
that,
himself.
or in exchange for the cat disc, he wanted a Skep Halo joke inserted with whatever he was going to do with the cat disc.
That's kind of funny.
Although, actually, talking about the attachment vault, there's an interesting thing that happens. Like, one of the things in the attachment vault was like a place for Punz's shulker, but then it's like an extra bit of stuff that like, it makes more sense when you know, now that we know that the finale was staged. The fact that like Punz is like, he puts down his shulker around Dream and he's usually really paranoid about it.
Oh yeah.
Or I was supposed to say, because now character Punz is he they, so.
Yeah, we should probably actually talk about the whole Punz and Dream reunion.
And like, even let Dream break it because he's got mining fatigue.
Yeah, so we're skipping around a little bit because I don't know if we like properly explained what happens. But yeah, so Techno and Dream split up, and then Dream runs off, and the next stream we see him on is Punz, because Punz, So Punz previous to this was with Sapnap, and Sapnap was saying that him and Punz are probably the only two people that could, actually stop Dream, and they agreed to split up. And then Punz immediately starts being sus because he runs away, and he's just like, I wonder where he could be. I have no idea. It's not like he's at some hidden location. And then he starts talking about how he and Dream that he's been waiting to see Dream, and that the prison wasn't where they were meant to meet at, so it's been way longer than he thought that he would last since he's last seen him. And then they go and they meet on like a shoreline, which apparently they were supposed to meet on an island, but Dream said it was too far away, and I don't know, it's this very like weirdly wholesome like
It is
moment
so
of them
wholesome.
like reuniting, but at the same time it's sort of like a shock to people who didn't believe in the disc finale or the stage disc finale, because suddenly, you know, one of the guys who was like highly responsible for Dream getting locked up specifically because he's the one who turned traitor on him is like Dream is shouting like, "Puns, good to see you, buddy," and like Puns is
It's a
super
long
excited.
time no see, buddy. Dude, it was just, there have, ever since that happened, just Tumblr chain after post of long time no see,
Yeah.
buddy. It was even happening in, like, this other Discord I'm in. And it's just, God, it's everywhere. And it's, like, the entirety of Dribbler is celebrating. This is, well, because first off, he sounds so happy, okay? He sounds so genuinely happy to see Puns.
It's a really wholesome
And then,
moment.
secondly, it confirms stage finale, and everybody on Dribbler has just been celebrating. This is quite literally the biggest twist we all saw coming, except for people who aren't Dribbler.
Yeah, so basically we find out that Dream was meant to be locked up in the prison all along, that it was...
it's part of his plan.
It's part of his plan. He was supposed... The only part is that the plan had gone seemingly slightly wrong because he wasn't meant to be in the prison for as long as he had been. And, the whole Quackity torturing him thing, that wasn't...
I gotta see stuff like that. And it's really sad because it means, like, he trusted Sam to, like, keep the rules of the
Not
prison.
make
Like, when he
things
says
worse.
that Sam was meant to protect him, like, that was always the plan. And then Sam just, like, went on a villain arc.
It's okay, but it would be very, very funny and kind of sad if the reason the plan went awry was because if Techno was the backup plan of getting out, Rambo was supposed to get him out originally, but Rambo gets himself banned because he fucking tries to rewrite the contracts at the big entrance of the prison that you have to sign in Ender.
Boo is not a
Like,
smart
he
kid.
didn't even sign it in Ender. He just tried to rewrite the entire contracts in Ender twice!
It's if he hadn't been like a troll or whatever his like plan was with that,
His silly,
probably
goofy
would have been
move.
okay. But yeah, no. So he decides to do that, and it's
And
just
then
sort of,
just bomb the prison from somewhere.
yeah, that also doesn't
And
work.
completely, that's just bomb the prison from somewhere and then get Tommy accidentally locked up in there with them.
Yeah,
That's pretty funny, honestly.
a little bit. It's a smooth move, but yeah. So we find out that they've been working together the whole time. Puns and Dream seem actually very, very close because Puns just puts his shulker bucks down and then gives Dream his because he has mining fatigue, he gives him his pickaxe to mine it, which, you know, when you think back to the attachments vault, it makes it very clear that, like, okay, this has all been part of the plan. And then I don't know, it's nice because Puns,
The
like,
thing is, we
asks
don't
him if
really
he's okay.
know exactly what his plan was. Because one of the main theories beforehand for a stage finale was that the idea was that, like, once he was out of the way, everyone was united against him, then, you know, like, fighting would stop ideally. But now we know that the plan was
which is
he'd
a
be in
little
prison for a
stupid.
period of time and then escape. So there's got to be something, like, the prison isn't the end point of the plan,
Yeah.
basically.
That's, like, the big question now.
He didn't
is, like,
plan to go into the prison or stay there or go into the prison and be, like, redeemed.
Yeah.
He planned to go into the prison and then escape. So there's more to the plan.
Yeah.
And
it was
honestly,
just
this
a
definitely
stage.
gives the stone theory more weight. I think we've talked about the stone theory
Yeah,
before, but if
that's
anyone's
the thing.
listening to this episode who hasn't listened to that, I think Animator on YouTube has this whole video explaining the theory.
Yeah.
I
It's
can't remember. I don't think I remember the name. It's like Dream's real plan or
Red.
something along the lines of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was originally created by Bluebell on Tumblr. But yeah, if you're not familiar with the stone theory, check out that video. It gives you the basic rundown of it.
Yeah, so, they reunite, Puns stacks Dream up with items, and then Dream does his whole, you know, no one should see us together because it might put you at risk, and it might put me at risk thing, and they split off.
He does it right as Puns asks him, "How are you doing? Isolation can be pretty tough on
Yeah, I've got some quotes. What is it? It's, Puns goes, being in isolation for that long probably does a number on people. Hope you're doing alright. And Dream goes, it has driven me absolutely wild, which, fair. And then, even though it took so long, I hope you're doing alright. I'm so sorry it went the way it did earlier. I'm glad you're finally out, though, which begs the question of which part. Yeah, and then Dream says, you know what, yeah, it was a thing, but I'm out now, so it's fine. But then they split up, and then we get a little more dialogue from Puns about how, keeping up the act was really hard, and then he's had to keep it a secret for so long.
I find it kind of funny, because this is kind of like both a character and content creator thing.
Yeah.
Because obviously they've been keeping this secret for a very long time.
Yeah.
Like, Sam especially, he's been asked questions in Q&A's where he has to go, I can't talk about that, that's spoilers.
Yeah.
Writer Sam is just so bad at keeping the whole thing, completely secret. You could tell there was something more going on with the way
when people put that it was made for
questions.
Tommy, because character Sam said that, and someone asked him in a Q&A was true, and he was just like, oh no, that's big spoilers. Obviously if it was for Tommy, it wouldn't be a spoiler at all, because half the fandom already thought that.
Yeah. It's, he tries.
It's very funny in hindsight watching everyone freak out over the next bit of content creator Sam leakage over a stage finale.
It's accidental. It's like telling the truth by omission,
Yeah.
By saying I want everyone to
Really?
come to their own opinions.
I think people in this fandom take characters at their word way more than they should. The whole thing where there's people who think that Ronbu is a reliable narrator. There was some survey back in spring. One of the questions was asking who people thought the most reliable narrator was, and multiple people put Ronbu as the most reliable narrator.
Oh, buddy.
The dude who talks himself into panic attacks and hears voices and thinks everybody's out to get him is a reliable narrator.
And the guy with terrible memory who can do something and then forget that he's done it.
The guy who's the most...
obviously that guy's a reliable narrator.
The guy who lies
I
to
think
himself
people just
constantly
take
and changes what he
characters by
says.
their word. And it's you can't really just take characters by their word. You've got to compare what they say to how they
say
act.
to what's actually happened to what other people say has happened.
Wilbur's a really good example because he contradicts himself all the time, so you really have to look at his actual actions, what he actually does, to get a better idea of what his actual feelings are.
Sam is an unreliable narrator. People like to take Sam for his word. What the fuck are you on about? He thought Hannah killed people at the Red Banquet.
Sam...
Also, a big thing about Sam, and I mentioned it earlier in this episode, I think he's a coward, and part of that is he refuses to acknowledge stuff that he's scared of, and stuff that he doesn't want to be true, even if he knows it's true.
Yeah.
Like the fact that Rambu's dead because of him and not Dream.
Yeah.
You fucking liar.
But just in general, he is very big on denial.
Yeah, none of the SMP characters are very reliable narrators. The only ones.
And that's actually one of the reasons it's so easy for Kwakashi to manipulate him, is because he can take advantage of that.
I'd say Technoblade is probably one of the more reliable narrators, if only because he doesn't lie to himself, but he will lie purposely to the audience or to other people if he thinks there's something he needs to hide or keep hidden. Like, not showing us what was in those books, Technoblade!
Yeah, Techno tends to lie by omission.
Yeah.
But what he actually says is usually truthful unless he's deliberately lying to another character. And it's also the fact that he directly talks to the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the whole thing with authority of Sam when he goes to visit the prison.
Yeah. But he has these little soliloquy moments, I'm probably not saying that right, where he's talking to the audience about how he feels about something. He's saying, oh, I'm really nervous about this. are doing really well, stuff like that, which means you get a lot of insight into his character that you wouldn't really get for most other characters, who tend to...
Also, I love his sarcasm. It's great.
Yeah, like, I have been, like, I write fic, and like, whenever Technoblade comes up in a fic that I'm writing, either A, the tone immediately becomes comedic, or B, I have to restrain myself from making the tone comedic if it's meant to be like an angsty fic, because whenever I write him, I'm just like, I can't not make Technoblade funny. And that just leaks into the narration as well. Like, I'll be writing like this angsty fic about Dream almost dying during the escape from prison, and then Sapnap coming to the Syndicate to find him, and then I put in a reference to Spider-Verse. Into the Spider-Verse. Because Techno's in it, the narration just kind of has to do that.
It's, speaking of Technoblade, the very first thing Dream does after he splits off with Puns is to go grab the Axe of Peace.
How did he know where that was?
That was gonna
Like,
be
that's a whole other mystery.
Yeah, so,
where the hell did... How
Like,
how
it
did he
might
know
have
the
been
Axe
a
of
plot
Peace was at
convenience thing, right?
Longfordshire,
But
first
we
off?
just had the stage finale theory confirmed, right? Which is like this really, like, elaborate story, plot line, plot twist, whatever, with a lot of small details backing it up. So obviously he was like meticulous enough with that and laying the clues for that. So what's up with him knowing where to find the Axe of Peace?
what's up with him knowing where to find the Axe of Peace?
I'm a personal
or his
advocate of
armor set?
admin Dream, and he just knows where certain stuff is if he's seen it before, or he's like...
It could be that
gotten it before,
Ranboo, Enderboo found out somehow.
But he wouldn't have been able to tell him is the thing, because Rambo was banned from the prison ages before Tommy decided to put the axe under Loxashire. So something a little bit more supernatural is probably going on in this case.
Well,
probably also the Nightmare Armor, and why he knew where it was.
see, the Nightmare Armor is questionable.
Yeah, we
because
definitely
there's no
know
way
there's
for him to
something
know
up
where
with
that
the
is. But I
Nightmare
know
Armor, because it's
for
been mentioned
the-
multiple times over like multiple months that it's got some sort of energy to it. And also that includes the shield and stuff that people can sense, and that was mentioned when they first got it off him. It was mentioned recently. It's very much a thing that isn't like a one-off. It's established. There's something up with that armor.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think as far as the Axe of Peace goes, though, I know Tommy blamed it on the fact that Dream just knows him really well. And to be fair, Tommy is a pretty predictable guy. Like...
But like,
I mean,
there's no
but
real
also,
way I
I would've
think that
expected
Dream
Tommy to
could like
have
logic at like, yes, Tommy still has this item that is significant to Technoblade, and he has hidden it in the place he got traumatized, and I will be able to find it extremely quickly here, even though it's hidden underground.
Yeah,
like,
it's pretty questionable.
It's not something you can figure out through
it's
logic.
very...
It's not like he put it in his house or something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, obviously, since he was there for the axe, he was not there for Tommy. I'm sorry to people who think he's obsessed with Tommy. He's not. Tommy just happened to be an easy target and just show up as he was about
something
to
like
leave.
that people have pointed out before. A lot of what he says, both to Tommy and later on with Sapnap, is echoing what Quackity said to him. So there's very much like a cycle of trauma going on here.
Subconscious or conscious emulation of Quackity, which means that it tells us a lot more about what he actually feels about what Quackity's done to him.
He's trying to ignore it, I feel.
But
like he's not telling.
It's coming out.
As far as his interactions with like Tommy, though, like it's pretty clear that like he didn't go there. At least to me, anyways, that he didn't go there specifically to find Tommy, because he went there to find the Axe of Peace. But his interactions with Tommy still seem pretty true to. Some of it does.
More
it
like,
does seem like he genuinely blames Tom, or like partially blames Tommy for how fucked up the prison was.
Well, I mean.
Well, it's also because, like, the whole thing, he's got this whole, like, supervillain persona he uses around Tommy, so it's kind of hard to tell how much is him trying to intimidate Tommy and how much of it is genuine.
Yeah, but the whole,
so here...
Because, like, right after he talks with Tommy, right, he goes to to talk with Sapnap to try and get the armor, and he contradicts like half the stuff he said to Tommy. He was not being honest there at all.
Well, I don't think he was being honest with either of them, to be fair, but
But like his actions of showing up to get his armor directly contradict, like just his actions of doing that contradict what he told Tommy he was going to do. So whether he's being honest with Sapnap or not, his actions are contradicting his words.
Yeah, I don't think he's being honest
So
with
like,
either of them. But,
there's I guess technically, if you consider the fact that Tommy getting himself killed, Tommy and dying in the prison and then having to be revived in the prison led to Clackety coming in to torture Dream. I guess that part you could technically blame on Tommy, but I feel like it was definitely more Dream just Dream just heading to Longsashire, grabbing the Axe of Peace, looking up and about to leave, only to look up and find Tommy's heading over. It's like, saw him and went, is anybody gonna use this guy as stress relief? And then just did not wait for any answers.
The impression I sort of got at first was that he's basically trying to scare Tommy off from like ever interacting with him again.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. The part about him telling Tommy that he thinks that he's sure that you knew, like, I'm sure that you knew about Quackity torturing me or whatever. I do think that, like, Dream at least partially believes that, like, Tommy was in on it and knew about it the whole time and is absolutely pissed about it. Because the torturing thing he wasn't playing
I feel
for.
no, when I say, like, stress relief, I actually mean that I think he was using Tommy to process and vent what happened at the prison to him. Because he goes up to Tommy, and then he's saying all these things, and definitely a huge aspect of it is him trying to scare Tommy and trying to, like, force this power dynamic back over them both, because that way he doesn't, like, if you haven't noticed, he's not fighting. Like, he's not really fighting people. He's trying to avoid confrontation. He's trying to go around undetected for the most part. He's running off with Sapnap. He doesn't really fight Sapnap at all. They're just circling each other in the bunker there.
Well, they fight after they get out of the bunker, but
a little. But it's also like, again, it's him reacting much more violently and emotionally than what we're used to seeing. And so, like, he's stuff that he's repressing, the bastard, is slipping through in this conversation he's having with Tommy, and like 90% of it is probably just he's saying stuff that he knows is gonna get under Tommy's skin, that he knows it's gonna scare him, is gonna get Tommy to think a certain way and act a certain way. But then the rest of the 10% is stuff of his actual inability to process everything that's happened in the prison, slipping through and getting into his words. The comment about finally seeing the beach for once in his life.
I think he is genuinely, like, angry and doesn't like Tommy, which is part of the reason he acts the way he does when they're interacting, because I think part of it is genuine, but I think part of it is very much him
Tommy's an easy target.
You know, playing into, you know, making sure that Tommy knows, like, hey, I hate you, and I'm gonna make your life a living hell because you suck, and I think everything's your fault.
I don't think that he thinks that at all.
Interesting, what he does is he chases Tommy until he gets to Syndicate.
Yeah,
and then he just leaves.
Some people have theorized that is, like, intentional on his part, that he's trying to sort of
it's 100% intentional. Have you seen the way he was chasing him? Like, every time Tommy veered offwards, he would hurl in front of him, say, hi, hello, and then Tommy would turn right around and start heading back towards where he wants him to go. It's very obvious that he's...
It's very good from, like, a strategic perspective, because it lets him know, like, what kind of terms is Tommy on with Techno and Filza and all them. Because when he got put in prison, they were on kind of bad terms. So it gives him an idea. Have they made up since then? Are they still enemies? Like, basically how things have changed since he was put in prison.
Yeah. And it's also like sort of his way of making sure he knows where Tommy is going to be, most likely. Because so at this moment in time, he's just fucking terrified the shit out of Tommy. Tommy's screaming, he's running away. He's quite literally toying with them in his life, and I love the blooper reel. It's hilarious. But yeah, Dream is quite literally toying with Tommy.
Yeah, because he could have definitely killed Tommy at any time during that thing, and he chooses not to.
Yeah, killing Tommy was never the point. So he's chasing Tommy and then leading him towards Phil's as someone Tommy finds safety in. Means after he's just like fucking terrified the shit out of Tommy, means Tommy's less likely to directly interfere, go after him now, and also more likely to stay with Phil because he feels safe around Phil.
Mm-hmm.
And well, Phil's is probably gonna keep him out of trouble, most likely, maybe. Towards Tommy just ends up leaving afterwards, but like, it's not illogical thinking that to believe Tommy was gonna stay with Phil after going through that traumatic experience again.
But yeah, so Dream and Tommy meet. That interaction goes poorly, you could say. Tommy gets chased off. Reunites with Phil. Phil says he's gonna kill that or kick the shit out of that Teletubby shit for terrorizing teenagers immediately after getting out of prison. Phil and Tommy talk a bit. They talk about L'Manberg. Phil says, it was a place that it was making you all focus on like control and power and not each other. Tommy says that the discs were more than just discs. They were his representation of victory, of hope, and blah 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 blah.
Ruby was right.
But what's victory worth if you put it above the people you care for?
Yeah, but so that
Skipping
happens.
forward a little bit.
I'm trying to think of anything major. Other than that, during Tommy's stream, we get some interactions
He
between...
built a wall around his little area, but that's like way after everything's gone down.
He talks to Quackity a bit.
Oh yeah, Quackity.
Quackity tells him that he knows what a piece of shit Dream is, and that if Tommy needs him, he'll be there, and they sort of bond and reunite that friendship again. Tommy and
Quackity,
Sam interact. Sam gives him a full set of netherite gear, and then Tommy goes back to his house where Techno, Phil, and Rambo are talking. Rambo now being Ghost Boo. Techno gives Tommy stacks of obsidian for like a diamond, and then Phil, Tommy, and Ghost Boo work on their walls.
It's a little. Let's back up a little bit. So before So during this time where Dream is terrorizing Tommy, Sapnap is having a conversation with Sam, I believe. And I think he was blaming Sam for letting Dream escape. And I think there was at one point Aaron called Sam a Dream apologist.
Oh yeah, Aaron called Sam a Sea Dream, or asked if he's a Sea Dream apologist. And Sam just turns to look at him and goes, "I'll kill you." It's the funniest bit ever.
It's great. But yeah, so Technoblade, at this point in time, once Sapnap's finished speaking with Sam, once he's finished speaking with Puns and they just split off to look for Dream, Sapnap heads directly to Snowchester Vault, which apparently he knows that's where Dream's armor is being kept, because he knows Dream was going to come back for his armor. So he goes there ahead of time and beats him to it and grabs the armor and then hides in the wall. And then he waits a little bit. Meanwhile, Technoblade tells Philza that he's gonna backtracking a little bit. Technoblade speaks with Philza. Connor shows up. He made a guy and he's now part of the syndicate.
Sixth member, because Sam killed Apollo.
Oh yeah, Sam killed Apollo. Fuck you,
Does
Sam.
Connor have like a syndicate name, or have they not decided that yet?
I don't think they've decided that yet. I wasn't paying too much attention because there was other stuff happening on other streams, but I had it open in the background. Connor starts building a little hut, and then Techno decides to head to Snowchester to meet up with Tubbo to inform him of the news and ask him what the fuck is going on with Michael. And that happens a little bit, and then moving forward in time a little bit, Dream from Sapnap's of Dream finally comes down, and he's into the Snowchester Vault, and he's looking for the armor. And then Sapnap walks up to him, goes, "Are you looking for something?" and scares the shit out of him, because Dream was not expecting that at all, and Dream startles so much he literally falls to the bottom floor of the vault. And then he's building back up again, and he's happy to see Sapnap, but then it's also sort of like, "I'm happy to see you, but I think I know why you're here, and I won't like the answer. Do you have my armor? Sort of tone of voice. And so he asks him for the armor. And Sapnap's like, I'm not giving it to you. And Dream asks, like, we could be friends again, like, right? They had this... I don't quite remember what the entire conversation was like, but they had this whole conversation about... And mostly it was just Sapnap asking a lot of questions, and Dream trying to get the armor back from Sapnap again and again and again. Like, Dream is very blunt, and like, well, first off, obviously Sapnap knows Dream wants the armor, and Dream also isn't pretending that he wants something otherwise. He's like, hey, nice to meet you, can I have my armor back? It's really funny, actually.
Yeah, but they fight a little bit, and then Dream just manages to vanish again, which he's done like 2 or 3 times now.
There's stuff that happens before that, actually.
I mean, they have like an argument where Dream keeps asking for the armor. Sapnap keeps telling him no. Dream tells him that Quackity tortured him, and that's kind of why he escaped. And Sapnap was like, seem like he really believed
specifically,
it,
when Sapnap asks him, why did you escape? Dream just answers with, the same he answered Tubbo with, was like, who's the person originally built for? Just skips over that immediately. Also, super real, Techno's super loud mic and super loud typing.
Yeah. And also, this is connected to the whole thing where he got Tom A to go to the Syndicate. He also tricks Sapnap into going to Kanoko, which A means that if he was keeping an eye on Sapnap out of sight, he now knows where it is. I don't know what B was meant to be. Or he's trying
to keep people out of his way and sort of centralized in places that
I feel like he's trying to give the impression that he's going to be coming after them, so they'll focus on preparing for him to attack them and won't try and hunt
he goes
him.
off and does something else.
Which it buys him time to work on whatever his plan is if everyone thinks he's preparing to attack. Because they won't bother going hunting after him and trying to find him when they're busy trying to defend themselves.
Yeah. Interesting stuff that I noticed during the conversation or argument with Sapnap. Well, first off, Dream, who doesn't tell tons about having been tortured, tells Sapnap that he was tortured by Quackity, and Sapnap doesn't. But I don't think Sapnap believes him. He doesn't act like he believes him, and he just brushes off the fact that Dream was tortured in prison by Quackity, his fiance. And then it's very interesting because you can kind of tell the moment where Dream realizes that this line of questioning isn't working. Dream asks and tells Sapnap, like, well, we can do that. We can be friends right here. We can start over. He's trying to reignite that friendship, also to get the armor back, but he is trying to say, like, we can be friends again, and Sapnap's just not having any of it. And you can tell that Dream, when he realizes this line of questioning isn't working, he swaps over to, like, so what have you been up to? A kingdom, Maybe I'll go pay it a little visit. And he just swaps to, like, this much more threatening instead of, he goes from friendly to threatening. Vaguely threatening, and they're just circling around each other around the boat, which is just such a cool detail, man. Like, it's very... Sapnap tells Dream that he's not getting this armor unless you're taking it off his dead body. And it's just so interesting. Dream isn't fighting. He could fight.
Yeah.
But he's not. And he deliberately chooses not to fight. And also Sam bringing up fucking George, and then when he says, like, well, he's not talking about you, and then Dream just stops walking for a second. Sam, that is such a fucking low blow. Like, dude, what the hell? But, eventually, when it's apparent that the threat isn't working exactly, it isn't working to get him the armor, Dream's like, Sapnap's like, if you can even get out of here. And Dream's like, okay. And then hurls the fuck out.
And then he just sort of disappears.
Vanishes.
Well, they fight for a little bit,
He gets
but
really...
then he vanishes.
He calls the armor sentimental, and Sapnap says, I think it feels good on me. Which is very dude, there's something up with that armor. But like, yeah, Sapnap catches up a little bit, and then Dream gets like really angry for a split sec. It's like, that's my armor, that's mine, and attacks him. And then before he starts running again, and then he's taunting Sapnap the entire way. He's like fanning the flames essentially, and then vanishes. Also, Techno Breaks comment, nice boots.
Yeah, but
Because the boots aren't enchanted and it's so obvious.
Sapnap kind of puts Kanoko at risk with all of this, and I think Carl calls him out for it too, because Dream only starts like asking about Kanoko when Sapnap refuses to give him the armor. And so Sapnap runs off to Kanoko to sort of like try and protect it, thinking that Dream might be going there, but he gets there and it's just Carl, and then Sapnap tells him everything, and Carl's just like, why wouldn't you just give him the armor? Like, now this entire country is at risk, and if anything happens, then I'm gonna be pissed. Yeah. So...
And then Dream's just running for like the better part of 10 minutes, 20 minutes before he finally logs off.
Yeah, that's the last time we see him, or on a stream. We don't really know where he goes after that, but I think the last sort of thing that happens that day, as far as like major lore that I remember, like we got a couple bits and pieces. Like Boomer said some things about his hat and how the sense of power that he gets from his hat feels similar to, I don't remember if he said the Nightmare armor or if he said Dream, or like a power that Dream has, which either means that the armor does have some weird dream and shit going on, or it could be something to revive.
Boomer's hat can bring people back to life?
Yeah, and like, I don't remember if he said that his hat can sense it, but he said that it was like something that felt familiar to where he got his hat from. So like his old home. So we got a little bit of that, but we don't really know where that's going yet. And then
we got Rocket Duel interactions where Jack confronts Nikki over why she was helping Dream escape. And they reconcile, and I believe Jack is inviting Nikki to his current location. We got Rocket Duel lore. It's been so long.
It's been like months, hasn't it?
They're sort of finally reunited, and I don't know if their friendship's back to the way it was, but Nikki at least says that, you know, she wants to change the server for the better. They seem to still disagree on whether the governments or the anti-governments or whatever.
Yeah. But it's like, and also, actual communication, guys, on the Dream SMP? They're actually speaking to each other? This never happens! Like, genuinely, this is the first time I've seen of people having a conversation, having disagreements and grievances, and then having a conversation with each other to find out what those grievances are and to explain their points of view that didn't end up in bloodshed.
It's one of the better moments. Okay, we're running short on time, so we should probably cover the last few things. Ghost Boo now exists. Rambo died. He seems to hate Alive Boo. We got Foolish and Dream XD lore, which if you want to talk about communication, that was great. Dream XD, we learned some more about him, like the fact that he looks like Dream because Dream is the first human he ever met. He doesn't understand time or colors or know what karaoke is. He eats souls from dead people.
Oh yeah, very recent lore, but Foolish is Dream XD's pet.
Foolish is Dream XD's pet.
Yeah.
Dream XD doesn't like BBH because he thinks he's annoying and he likes to give him nightmares.
Apparently has a ringtone for when people come out of get into or come out of nightmares. It sounds the same as the eggs.
Also, just something about Bad. When they updated the server to 1.18 and Bad went exploring underneath Y0, he said stuff about how like it felt familiar under there, so we don't know what's up with that yet, so...
And also, Punk and Sam.
Yeah.
Punk has officially left Sam for dead.
Yes, Punk,
good for them!
Basically said, fuck you, you cut off my arm, for key cards that don't even work.
You killed an innocent bystander.
You killed an innocent bystander, you let Dream escape, and Sam said, it's not my fault. And I would have done this, I would have cut your arm off again, and I would have killed Rambo again, basically. And Ponk said, that's all I needed to know. Fuck you. If you ever need my help, I'm not giving it to you.
I'm not gonna be there when you fall. I'm not gonna be there when it all catches up
and
to you.
And then Sam takes off his armor and gives Ponk his sword and tells him to kill him if he wants to. And Ponk says no, because I want you to see one day everything that you've done. And then Sam walks away and says that Ponk can be angry if he wants to be, and it's just like, Sam, goddamn man,
Sam,
can you relax for like 2 minutes, please? And then
no, this is literally you don't need that person, Ponk. You don't need Sam.
He doesn't need Sam.
That meme.
Oh man. And then I guess I think everything else, that was like all the lore that we've had other than what's happening today, which obviously we haven't been able to watch. So I think the only other things that happened in the last week that are really major is that, not really lore yet at least, but the SMP has updated to have a second world that is entirely 1.18 generation.
And the current world has been updated to 1.18
yes.
as well, so stuff below Y level has now become generated, and I have to say, it's very, very interesting that they would plan the lore streams to happen days before the update, and then after Dream escapes, the world suddenly undergoes massive changes, and a portal comes from seemingly nowhere, leading to a brand new seed.
And
it's a little
the rules about the new world are kind of iffy. Some people are completely starting over, others have kept their gear. I think the only thing that's happened in there so far is that Foolish has built the city of Ohio, or country of Ohio. I don't really know what it is, but he's built
Hans
Ohio.
marked down a piece of land as Florida. Rambo found an enchanted golden apple.
Rambo found a disc and then destroyed it the moment he found it.
Nice. And then Tubbo was yelling at everyone to keep the integrity of the experience, which is very funny.
Then,
also, Tubbo banned ugly walls and cobblestone towers from being built on a new
basically
world.
Tommy.
As you should.
Yeah, so Tommy isn't allowed to build on a new server apparently.
Basically.
At least from Tubbo.
At least on the new world.
As he should.
And I think the only other thing that we know is that the Mana Treat account that was floating around for a while is apparently a new CC that's getting added to the Dream SMP, but we don't know who they are, what their relationship to Dream or anybody else on the SMP is, and when they're starting. So
my two main guesses is either it's like a whole troll and this is like the vlog incident all over again, or it's someone that Dream knows personally in real life, like it's a real life friend or family member that's interested in streaming.
Yeah, my bets are it's either someone he knows or has known for a really long time, either like another one of like the Munchie MC crew that like hasn't started streaming before but has been around for a long time, and the manager
or they're just messing
is just sort
us.
of a start over for them or something like
it's
that.
Callahan /
or
Jerry.
someone he knew in real life, or it's another CC that's just using the name as sort of a bit to drum up attention, but I don't know, it seems flimsy. Yeah, so that's everything that's happened in the last week from last Saturday.
I'll be completely honest with from what we've seen of Dream XD, I feel like he's a lot fucking younger than the egg. He knows too little, that's the thing. Like, he says he enjoys watching people, but he doesn't know, like, so many things. And things he does know, you could say it's stuff he's learned from Foolish.
But yeah, so
like
we should wrap up this episode. This is, like we said at the start, this is the last episode of season 1 of Mellohi, although we'll probably have an episode out next Monday as well, because lore is happening and we're still going to want to talk about it. Originally we were thinking, like, if there's no lore, or there's only a small amount of lore, maybe we'll take a break for a week or two, but it looks like stuff is happening. So we're just going to go ahead on a normal schedule. This will just be split into season 1 officially. And everything about us talking about season 2 of the Dream SMP. And then the next season is going to be everything season 3 of the Dream SMP. Season 4 of the Dream SMP.
Yeah, so we'll probably see you all next week, but maybe not.
Have fun watching. Well,
Come back
I'm
here
guessing by
in
the time
6
this comes
months
out, you'd have
and
seen
re-listen
Sam's
to
live stream,
everything that we made.
so.
If you ever want to do a refresher on everything that happened in season 2, season 3, but I keep getting in season 3 of the DSMP, just listen to all of this.
Yeah. And I guess
We
Anyways,
have
stage
multiple
finale,
episodes
woo!
on the Sandberg. Okay?
I guess
The Sandberg
Alright.
was so much fun.
the
Bye
final
then.
thing we should just say is
Bye.
thanks everyone who's been watching for the last 30 episodes, and we'll see you in season 2. Bye!
Well, thanks for listening to the 30th episode of Mellohi, and we hope you enjoyed it. If there's any topic you'd like to hear us discuss, feel free to leave a comment or find us on Twitter at Mellohi Podcast, or just get updates about new episodes. We also have a Discord server you can find a link to in the description. See you next time!